Tonight at 6, the gubernatorial race in North Carolina has shaped up to be one of the most expensive races on record. New campaign filings show Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is being outspent by his opponent Josh Stein, and not just by a little. According to the numbers, Josh Stein's camp has raised more than $44 million in the past 3 months. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson has raised $4 million. Meanwhile, Robinson remains firm. He is confident in his path forward to a win on Tuesday. Now, he sat down for an in-depth one-on-one with Queen City News reporter Daniel Pierce, who joins us now live in the studio. Daniel, you dived into a lot here in this 40-minute interview that you had with him, including his past on abortion.
It's a stance GOP vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance has said the Republican Party needs to win back trust whenever it comes to this issue. Now, the lieutenant governor has had a very controversial past on abortion comments. He admitted to me that he felt a spiritual change on the issue and how he approaches it. He visited a crisis pregnant center in Charlotte and had a conversation with people, and he feels his stance is not wrong, but his approach needs to change. However, all of that apparently happened a few years ago.
For me, there's no compromise on abortion.
For months now, attack ads like these on Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson and his abortion stance have played almost on a loop.
Because you aren't responsible enough to keep your skirt down.
The Lieutenant Governor has stressed ads like that last one don't include his full comments from 2019, where he then goes to mention men's role and how abortions allow parents to, quote, keep running to the club every Friday night.
With the number of videos, how do people say, I can't forgive something that happened that was many consider to be hurtful? How do you put that into context, or how do you get those people that say, I'm not going to agree with him because of the abortion issue?
You know, you really can't. I really can't. If that's that person's number one issue, if that's where the buck stops with them. But I would urge them to do this. Look at the total package of the things that I'm talking about. Look at all of the issues and how those issues play out. And listen to what I'm saying about being willing to live by consensus.
An Elon poll last month found only 17% of voters spoken with favored increased abortion restrictions, while 47% wanted fewer restrictions. Last year, state Republicans passed a law rolling back abortions from 20 weeks to 12 weeks, with the exception of rape and incest. Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson says he supports the law, but he's also said in the past he'd support a full ban with no exceptions, something he doubled down on in a September 3rd recording.
So let's be clear. I have not changed about how I feel personally, spiritually. I have not changed. I still am 100% pro-life personally. Here's where I have changed. I do not need to be a person in any capacity, whether it's in my spiritual life or whether it's in my political life, where I stand on stage and I yell down at a young woman and tell her that she can't have an abortion. I should be the person who's willing to come off of that stage, embrace that young woman, and tell her why I believe she should choose life. God spoke to me and said, you know, your stand on this issue is not wrong, but your approach is.
Not only has the lieutenant governor spent time trying to clarify his stance or what he would do if elected, but in early August, he and his wife released this ad detailing their own abortion in the late 80s.
Silent pain between us that we never spoke of.
Given the opportunity, how would you draft up an abortion bill? What would you include in that bill?
I would not. That is up to the people. My opinion goes on the table with 120 House members, 50 senators, and what comes off is consensus.
How do you draw the line in the sand, though?
You draw the line, I really believe.
For both your party and the other party, whenever they bring something to you that you don't agree with.
I believe you draw the line when it comes to your faith. When they bring that bill and set it on my table, I have to have faith enough to believe that I'm signing this bill as the will of the people, not as my own will, but as the will of the people. It's a tough thing to be an elected official. It's double tough when you have to do things that you are diametrically opposed to personally or spiritually.
Now, according to that CNN report, the lieutenant governor is accused of making comments about abortions on a porn site back in the early 2010s. Now, he's called the piece a hit job and says that he never made those comments, and he's going to lay all of that evidence out in court when the time comes. Meanwhile, tonight at 10 o'clock, we're going to dive into rebuilding Western North Carolina and what he says he will do to prepare the state for the next natural disaster. Brian.
Daniel, thank you. And for more on Daniel's interview with Mark Robinson, head to our website at qcnews.com, and we'll hear from Robinson's Democratic opponent, Attorney General Josh Stein, Sunday night on Queen City News.